Welcome back, Watt Warriors. It's Roy with Air Pro Coaching, coming to you with race simulation. So we're in the middle of race season, and a lot of times we want to simulate the demands of a course or the demands of a race, and we're going to show you how to do that and how we build workouts around race simulation. So we want to show you how we build true race simulations, like simulations that allow athletes to prepare for their events, whether it's a triathlete of getting ready for Ironman or it's a Gran Fondo. We have 6 Gap that's coming up. How do I prepare for that? So what we're going to do is show you how we go through doing that using some of our athletes who are preparing for Masters Nationals. So last year we had a group of athletes do Masters Nationals, so we have a bunch of data and files, and that's a big advantage that we have. Is I can look back on thousands of files, hundreds of athletes, and see what the demands of certain events are. And when you can do that, you can reverse engineer it and see what type of training is needed for that event. So let's take a look. So here we have some charts for Masters Nationals, and the first thing I want to start off with is the macro. In the macro, I make notes. And the note is, how long is the event? It's 75 miles, takes 3 hours, and then how much energy or how much work is done to complete that event. And here we have 2,200 kilojoules. That's the amount of work it takes, and that work was done at tempo. So the work was done at tempo. It was 3 hours of tempo. If we just took that alone, we know that one of the prerequisites to complete this is 3 hours of tempo. So you need to be able to go out there and try to run 3 hours of tempo to even just be in the ball game. If you can't do a 2,200 kilojoule ride, you're not going to do one on race day. That's very simple at the macro level. Now, at the micro level, what we wanted to do is dig a little deeper. And we dig a little deeper by looking at the race course. And here's the race course. You can see it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bigger climbs per se, or longer duration climbs, ranging anywhere from 1.5 minutes to 3.5 minutes. And then short poppy climbs in the middle, 4 times 1 minute. All right, so now we get a little bit more of a sense. No long climbs, shorter duration climbs. All of these are VO2 or anaerobic climbs in and around the range of 1 minute upwards of 3.5 minutes. Great, so we know that it's repeated each lap. This is 10 efforts. I believe it's 4 laps, so that's 40 times you're gonna be going over a threshold. These are gonna be over threshold climbs. And so let's look at that. How much over threshold? How much time over threshold? Well, here we go. Here is a race file from Nationals, and we look over here. It shows the duration, or how much time in energy systems or zones. And here we have 40 minutes, just over threshold. So if you see threshold here, it's 11 minutes. Just over threshold is 39 minutes. It's 20% of the time is just over threshold. At threshold is only 5%. And then FRC, or super intensive efforts, like 30, 40 second, 50 second efforts, only 4%. So if I'm building training, I know I need tempo work, and then I also need functional reserve capacity, FTP, or 2 minutes to like 6 minutes, 2 minutes to 5 minute efforts, 2 minutes to 4 minutes, somewhere in that range during my training. So that tells me tempo and that. Do I want to sit there pounding out sprints? No, it's not a requirement. Now, it doesn't mean we don't include that, but that's not simulating the demand of the event. Are we doing a lot of threshold, repeated threshold? To simulate the demand of the event? No. For other reasons, yes, but not for the simulation of the demand of the event. If your threshold's really low, you won't even finish this event. Remember, you have to be able to ride at normalized power around 270 watts, 280 watts, just to stay with the group based on your weight. The higher your weight, the higher that number goes up. So yeah, threshold's important, because if your threshold's 200, you're gonna get dropped because you can't hold that intensity needed for 3 hours. So threshold's important, but assuming you have a good threshold, assuming you can do the 2,200 kilojoules, the next step is, I need to be able to do 20% of that time, or 40 minutes at a functional reserve capacity, FTP, FRC FTP. All right, great. So now we go and we design a program, we design a workout. If you have flat terrain, maybe you're gonna do 2 minute effort, 2 minute effort, 2 minute effort, and those efforts are gonna be at about 120 to 50% of your functional threshold capacity. Maybe start there, pick a number over threshold. Maybe you say, I'm gonna do 130s and see how that feels. So you do 3 of those efforts, okay? A little bit of recovery in between. And then you're gonna do 4 times 1 minute, a little more intensive maybe. And then you're gonna do 3 times 2 minutes, a little more intensive. All right, you just did 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and then 16 minutes in there of work. And maybe you do that every hour. So you do 3 hours and you include 16 minutes of intensive work every hour. Okay? You can break it up any way you wish. We'd like to see it obviously between 2 and 5 minutes, and that's going to simulate the demand of the event. So every 60 minutes, you're going to do you want to do about 16 minutes. So maybe you do 8 times 2, something like that, or 5 times 3 with a couple 1-minute efforts. You can mix it up as you wish. It doesn't have to be exactly the same. Okay, that's where I think people get caught up is, at 0.2 miles I got to do this effort. No, it's not how you do it. It doesn't matter when it happens. You just want your body to be ready for those demands. Be ready for that VO2. Be ready for those harder efforts. Be ready for some tempo. If you don't have to have it exactly as it's laid out. You don't have to be that type A, but you do have to have do the work. You have to have that work in you. If you haven't done this work, if you aren't able to do 40 minutes at FRC FTP, then you're not going to pull it out of a hat. If you did 35 minutes in training, maybe you get to 40, right? But if you did 40 minutes in training and the race is a little harder, you're prepared for that. And now, what we did is we found a little course. It had some rolling hills. We're in Florida, so if you can find it in Florida, you can find it anywhere. You can use a bridge. I'll show you how we did a bridge. So here's a simulation. They did 32 minutes, 18%, so that was a little off. On that one, we do have one in here. Here's a race simulation, 21%. So they did 39 minutes at FTP, very similar to nationals. So right there at 39 minutes, so we nailed it. So this simulates the demand of the event, and we could repeat this a couple times, we could go 40 minutes, we could go 45 minutes with that. So how do I do it if I don't, on a flat stretch? You can do, like I said, an hour, you want 16 minutes. So maybe you do 20 minutes of tempo and then 3 bridge repeats. 20 minutes of bridge, 3 bridge repeats, 20 minutes of tempo, 3 bridge repeats, and then you're going to get close if you do that for about 2.5 hours. We did it for 65 miles versus 75 miles, so we were mimicking the demand of the event within 65 miles. So technically it's a little harder. We went a little more intensive in our intensity factors. So that's how we do a race simulation. We don't have to mimic the course exactly, but we want to mimic the course demand. The macro, how long of it, how much work is involved in it, what intensity factor. Then we break that down. What are the individual requirements? We know for a short rolling climb, if you are doing Augusta 70.3, if you're doing Chattanooga, those are short poppy climbs, so it's going to require to climb right over threshold. So you may want to do some of those efforts and tax those systems. If you are doing a long flat effort, again, that may be just steady tempo if you're a triathlete. If you're a triathlete, you may want to test, hey, I did 1,500 kilojoules of work and I ran and my run was crap. Now I should do 1,300 kilojoules, back it off, lower the intensity. So this is how we build simulations, and then from there we can build workouts. If I'm like, man, I can't get to 39 minutes, then what I need to do is on my Monday through Friday homework, I need to work on 2-minute efforts, right? I need to work on 2 minutes all out or 2 minutes hard, taking long recoveries, 2 minutes hard. If threshold is really important, I need 30 minutes of solid threshold, then I'm going to build workouts that are focusing on threshold for 20 minutes, 10 minutes, 8-minute effort. If tempo for 3 hours, which we know is important, I need to do a 3-hour tempo ride. All right, and so that's how we do, that's how we build a meaningful race simulation. And that's all we have for you today. Up your watts.